One.
Okay. Hello. Before pandemic and after pandemic is totally everything has been changed. Mm, we have to watch out our kids or our church members very carefully how they live, what they're thinking. I think I'm doing make a calling with them. I'm trying to at least every day, each members per day, like 10 members per day. So just making connection, not the chat, but with a voice call. So I think this is the most best way, I think, nowadays. So let's wake them up. That's it.
Cool.
So with the whole issue of students and loneliness, a big factor that some people try to use to try to escape that or try to use a way to circumvent that is the idea of identity and who they are. Just basically, I have to fit a certain mold, I have to fit a certain type, I have to fit a certain whatever they want to insert into that blank, because without that, therefore, I am nothing. And a lot of people will take and look at whatever might be on social media or whatever may be out there in the magazines or whatever and say, because I am not this, or I do not fit that role, or I can't be insert whatever, then I basically am nothing and I am no one. So definitely dealing with the identity of who the person is probably the first thing we need to probably take into account is, don't worry about what someone on Instagram looks like or what someone may say to you. Let's try to take a look at who God says you are first. And we can pull up the passage, wonderfully and fearfully created, made in the very image of God. We can pull up all these passages to show that your identity is not in social media. Your identity is not in what someone says you are in this world or in society. It is not in whatever you may want to post out there on social media. What is important is, first off, the fact that you are loved, you are cared for, you are not alone in this whole aspect of life, because there are others who will come alongside you to help grow, to help you get out of the state that you might be in. Why? Because we care. And frankly, we've all been in that situation at some point in our own personal lives. So we know how to go about helping. We know how to go about combating. We just know how to help you, and we do it not because we're paid to do it, but because we genuinely care about you.
I think the issue of loneliness and the epidemic that has come about with it in teenagers and even a lot of other people is we've made the trade of technology and human interaction as if they're equals, and they're just not. And so I agree with Marshall McLuhan when he says that the medium is the message. And so if you receive "I love you" over social media message versus "I love you" over text versus "I love you" over a phone call versus "I love you" and a hug in person, they're not all equal because the medium is the message. And I think that's why a lot of students thinking they're connected feel more distance and lonely than ever before, because they're not connected, and what we have via social media is a sham for connection, and it's not the real thing. It's not the way we were designed. And additionally, as youth leaders, the way we can combat some of this stuff is to understand that what is valuable is are the interactions that are going to be valuable with the youth are going to be costly. And it takes me back to David at the end of 2 Samuel, when he says, "I will not give God a gift that costs me nothing," and he offers to buy this farmer's oxen when he gives a sacrifice to the Lord. And I just think we should be sacrificial in our leadership. And I think that's the example Jesus gave us as well. So I think if we do that, it's going to be really impactful. I know some of the smallest things I did for youth when I was a volunteer youth minister were the most impactful. And even my youth minister, just like taking me to Bass Pro Shop one day, you know, and walking around, that was like something I remember. And it was simple. It was didn't cost a lot, but it was a sacrifice for him, and I saw that. And just having a real interaction was valuable. So.
So going through from lecture 2, this discussion, talk about the loneliness. I feel like it's we gotta focus on building relationships, starting from Christ, then family, and to church. We need to start building up that relationship. It's not easy, but and especially for teens, they get easily distracted from this social media and this time of pandemic. They get easily distracted, and they can't focus on Christ right now. Their mind is just everywhere. So for us as a spiritual leader and church leader, and as their friends, we gotta help them to lead to Christ and help them to build a relationship, and also talk with their family, parents, and also students, so that we can be on the same track. Because sometimes youth pastors, students, and parents, they're on a different track. They talk different, and they have different minds, and they don't really know. They can't really engage on the same topic. So I think we should take that role, step up, and just show them as a good example, as a man of Christ, as a leader of Christ.
Yeah. So my contribution to the conversation was talking about how no student wants to be lonely, but I think loneliness is easier for our students right now. I think it's extremely accessible. We talked about how right now, even going back to school and being on Zoom, they literally have the option to mute themselves and not have to talk to anybody. They can hide their video and do whatever they want, not be a part of conversation, and things like that. And even before the pandemic, it's that just with the idea that they can escape reality by going to Instagram, by going to their phone. When any situation gets awkward or anything like that, they don't have to communicate through it. They can just leave it. They have an escape right there in their pocket all the time. And so loneliness, not that any student would ever, I mean, some students might, but not any student would just be like, I want to be lonely, but they choose loneliness a lot throughout the day. And I think like Dr. Ross talked about in the first lecture, or I guess it was the second, because the first one was the syllabus. But the second lecture was talking about having a goal for our students, and how we're going to achieve that goal would be mobilizing our leaders, mobilizing our parents, parents of their leaders, parents of the students, and making sure we're all like was said in our discussion, making sure we're all on the same page, making sure we're unified in our approach, and we're being relational with our students and showing them what it is to not be lonely, to be in community with people, and have that community. So yeah, that's it.